Honorable Minister, first of all, let me welcome you to Contact FM. And nowadays, refugee numbers of Congolese people is close to 12,000 people. How is this being handled?
Let me say that the handling of the refugee situation since the last flare-up in Eastern DRC has been very good. And I think much as we have not appreciated some of the action by UN agencies, particularly the agency responsible for the stability of the Congo, MONUSCO, we also have appreciated the work of some of the UN agencies, particularly lately the agencies responsible for refugees. We have, over the last many weeks, had excellent collaboration. The ministry, the Rwandan ministry in charge of refugees and disaster management, has worked very well with the UNHCR, UNHCR Rwanda, UNHCR Goma, the World Food Programme, and other UN agencies have been available. They have acted in a smart way in front of a situation that was unexpected. We have, in the beginning, we had quite a large flow of refugees. Then it slowed down, but recently, in the last few days, we have noticed that a minimum of 100 people have been coming in yesterday and the day before. Close to 150 people each night, each day have come in. Yeah. So I think much as we really want to see stability quickly in Eastern DRC, on our borders, in our region, I think so far the refugee situation is being handled properly. We have now over 11, close to 12,000 refugees in Nkamira camp in northern Rwanda. It's a transit camp. And there are plans to move several thousand refugees to southern Rwanda in another location that has been readied to receive refugees. But, of course, more importantly, we expect the situation to get better in the DRC as soon as possible so that these families can be reunited and go back to their home and their country.
We know that you've been meeting with Congolese officials throughout the month of May. Did you anticipate that things would escalate to this point?
I think at this point, the situation is not good. But I wouldn't talk about escalation yet because Rwanda believes that the situation of tension and war in Eastern DRC is reversible. It can be stopped. It is, of course, up to the government and the defense forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo to take some decisions to organize as they see fit. But I'm also very aware of the fact that there are some external factors in this conflict and this region. It's not the first time. And they tend to have a very superficial way of looking at things. And they also tend to think that we in this region, and this very much applies to Africa in general, that we cannot solve our own problems. And the experience of this region has shown that when the two countries, particularly this same conflict, because this is not the first time we have this tension and volatility in Eastern DRC. The last time there was we've been enjoying peace in the last 3 to 4 years. And there is no question that peace in the last 4 years was arrived at because of the efforts of our leaders, of our presidents, and the efforts of the two countries. So it would be a big mistake for partners and other stakeholders in this region and in the Democratic Republic of Congo to think that somebody else, an outsider, will come and fix this. We need help. We can use help always in anything, from our friends, from our partners we've been working with. But for that to happen, we believe, we in Rwanda believe that it will not be possible if we continue to look at the symptoms and not the illness. And if we do not go to the root of the problem and try to fix it, and we go from one rebellion to another. So all of us, the international community, whatever that means, really has to act in a much more in a much deeper, more responsible, and definitely more sustainable way. So to go back to your question, we did not, when this conflict started, think that the number of refugees will keep increasing and that we'll not see an end to this. We have had, as you mentioned, a number of meetings at the highest level with our neighbors and brothers in the Eastern DRC. The last such meeting was less than 10 days ago here in Kigali. Our defense and security chiefs have met, have talked. But we of course, would want the situation to get better and get better sooner than later, because the kind of volatility, the kind of instability that has prevailed in this region in the past is something we want gone. That's what we believed in 2009, and we would want, as Rwanda, of course, we have invested heavily in peace with Congo, in stability, and we are ready to move a bit faster on other fronts, economic front. We want to be able to give conditions and an environment that is suitable for our people. So no, we did not expect it to last this long, but to be honest, there is only so much Rwanda can do in this, but we've played our part.
As you were talking about partnership between Rwanda and Congo on the government level, so let me ask you about the joint verification mechanisms. When can we expect to hear the findings from these joint verification mechanisms? Is it true that there are some problems with this exercise? Because some observers are talking about tension. Like, for example, yesterday, Jason Stern, a U.S. blogger, he's very famous, he tweeted that it looks like relations are about to deteriorate between Kigali and Kinshasa. What do you say about this?
I'm glad you mentioned bloggers and others. We've said it before, and Rwanda was very clear in the last week. We've spoken very clearly about some of the reports, including the one from MONUSCO. We were happy to see that MONUSCO has retracted the accusations against Rwanda. There are any number of actors in this conflict, any number of interests. And again, this is not a fresh conflict. This is something that we've seen before. And I'd say everybody needs to catch their breath and cool off and calm down. Right now, when one looks through media reports and blogs and so forth, there are so many people who are just wishing for war. There are many people who have now positioned themselves. They have predicted. They have, wrongly pushed Rwanda into the picture. Rwanda is not the cause of this conflict. Rwanda is in nowhere part of this problem. But we've tried to be helpful, as we have done in the past when these issues emerged, which is what justifies our intense dialogue with the DRC. it's a very strong commitment, and especially since the last summit in Goma between our two heads of state in 2009. So there are any number of people who look like they are watching a football match and they are waiting for somebody to score. We cannot be distracted by that kind of thing. We are responsible governments. Yes, you talked about the verification mechanism. Let me remind you that the verification mechanism was put in place way before M23. We have had our own bilateral mechanisms, especially at the level of defense and security. And they have done a good job. They have consulted, they have met, they have set up, a number of mechanisms to ensure long-term stability. And this verification mechanism was put in place precisely because both Rwanda and the DRC understand that this is a region with so many competing interests, with many rebel groups, with many armed groups, and therefore it's very important to get the story right. So the joint verification mechanism was designed to sift through all these rumors, all these creations, all the potential manipulations by different groups. So it was anticipated. But the key is to remember, and yes, there are people who would want this mechanism not to work. There are people who want to make it difficult. But the key is to remember that the cost of failure would be too high. The cost of our common endeavor to bring stability to this region, and the verification mechanism is one of them. The cost of it failing would be really very high. So we need to get this right, and we have to avoid the temptation of acting like something terrible should happen and we're ready for it anytime. So the verification mechanism, as you can imagine, for Rwanda is an important mechanism, and certainly the latest reports and so forth, Rwanda is looking beyond one incident. Rwanda is looking beyond rumors, and Rwanda certainly will benefit from a very thorough and very clear verification of what is going on, and it's part of what will allow us, the two countries, to move to a much more stable situation.
Is there any idea about